Good afternoon and welcome to a special edition of Eye on Northeast Kansas. We are launching a special campaign here at WIBW TV called Hear Me, See Me. All this year, we'll be shining a spotlight on mental health, raising awareness, erasing stigma, connecting you with resources, and inspiring change along the way too. We start right now with an overview of what mental health is and how communities are working to address it. Please know as we go through this discussion, if you or someone you know is in crisis, you can reach the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline at 988. What do we mean when we say mental health? That's where we're starting today. Dr. Laura Seidlinger is Director of Medical Services at Vallejo Behavioral Health in Topeka. Jenna Dunham is Director of Medical Services at Pawnee Mental Health in Manhattan. And Amanda Cunningham is CEO of Crosswinds Counseling and Wellness in Emporia. So glad you all could be with us. And I'm so glad that we have our region represented here today. It's so important because, Dr. Seidlinger, it is a broad definition when we say mental health. What are we talking about?
So I'm gonna take it from the other angle because we talk about mental health disorders. They can be behavioral or psychological changes that then can impact other areas of our lives. Our work, our school, our relationships, our peers. And it can be something that can be just very minor. Some anxiety, which is a normal emotion, but it helps, it keeps us in check, but it can get out of hand and keep us from doing things that we should be doing. Or it can progress into more serious mental illnesses, such as the severe persistent mental illnesses like bipolar disorder and schizophrenia, as well as other psychotic disorders.
How do you, Jenna, weigh out one versus the other? So those that, and we don't want to say those that don't necessarily affect your life, because that's the point. They all are going to affect your life. But those that are the severe persistent mental illness versus those that maybe people think of as something that we could perhaps more easily cope with in our life?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think a lot of it is about balance, and it's also about not operating in a silo and being able to normalize a lot of what we experience as mental health, because honestly, mental health will touch you, me, and everyone that we know in one fashion or another. And so understanding when it's okay to reach out, when it's good to get connected to resources, maybe the answer is we always should be connected in those networks in some fashion or another.
For you all in Emporia, Amanda, is there any specific challenge you see in being able to make these resources available for people across the spectrum?
I think that's a really broad question.
Right.
I think that there are lots of barriers that we have run into over the years that we are slowly trying to get rid of and have better access and address some of those things differently. So traditionally we might have scheduled an intake or a new service and it'd take you 7 to 10 days to get in, and then another month to 2 months to 3 months to get medication and things like that. Yeah. Now we have open access. You can come in same day and get those services and then get into medications in 1 to 3 days. And so just streamlining everything and making sure that there are no unnecessary barriers for people to get in and get those services started.
Let's hit on that severe persistent mental illness, because we're probably going to talk about the others a little bit more frequently as we go through this discussion. What do we talk about? What are those diagnoses that we mean when we talk about the severe persistent mental illness?
The two that I think I treat the most would be the persons who have schizophrenia or psychotic disorders. They may range from some benign delusions that really don't impact their lives, or it can be other things that become almost like phobic fears, feeling like they may have devices implanted in themselves, or they can hear the TV communicating with them, and that can be very, very distressing. Oftentimes you will see people who may respond to unseen others, or they may feel like something's touching them that's not there. Mm-hmm. And so, and the bipolar disorder is more of I describe it more as an emotional roller coaster, because people can be very high and then very low, or very irritable and then very low. And just finding that balance and getting somebody off that emotional roller coaster, getting those moods regulated towards the middle where normal people live.
Right. What is normal?
Now, there is no such
Right.
thing as normal. And I guess that's one of the points, is that we don't look at any mental illness, no matter the severity, as any different than we look at medical issues like high blood pressure, diabetes, even like cancer.
When we hear these diagnoses, Jenna, can people with those types of severe persistent mental illness live in the community?
Yes, absolutely they can. And we are here to help get them the resources and the supports that they need for them to be able to do that successfully. I think one of the biggest barriers that we experience is in the practices that I'm in now is social determinants of health is a huge barrier. And that can impact someone's life. If you can imagine having difficulty with finances, with transportation, and those kind of things, and then also having to deal with mental health being a barrier for you as well, it can make it exceedingly difficult to access things that you might need and services that you might need.
And when you're in an area like you are, Amanda, because you serve a wide swath around Emporio, which is very rural, when you're in an area like that, what are the barriers you encounter as well?
Well, they're about the same. They just look a little different. So the transportation, stigma related to even going in for mental health services, could be cost and those socioeconomic status. All those things kind of play into that. And so what you're seeing in the big cities, might be a 10-mile stretch. Now we're talking 55-mile stretch of how do we get to individuals when they're in need, and how do we get them into our offices or whatever that is that they're seeking.
A lot of questions, and all of you are working to find answers. And of course, with such a wide range of people needing a wide range of help, how are communities working to meet all those needs? We'll take a closer look next.